Okay, welcome back to the channel. So in the previous videos, what we've looked at is kind of setting up the environment a little bit, making sure that we know exactly where all of the notes are. And as really what I'm kind of doing here is I'm personally using Visual Code to make sure that I kind of have all my notes organized for my study purposes. Plus I'm using GitHub for Windows, for Mac, for Linux, which really kind of helps me make sure that I can kind of check in those notes as quickly as possible. So what I want to do here is just going to show you really kind of quickly. I set up some notes here for what I need to follow along for GitHub notes, highlighting study preparations, what the actual architect solution um, associate exam is, the Amazon CLI, cloud computing, iTerm, and this 408 here, what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to make sure that this just kind of contains all of the areas that I'm going to study. So I'm going to, improve on these notes as we kind of flesh them out. And I'm going to rename the videos to make sure that the videos are of this indexing, basically, so that it just kind of helps me find the videos later on. So as you kind of know, so far what we've done is we've uploaded a number of videos here, and all of those videos are accessible right now. So if you haven't, please like, subscribe, and comment on the videos, and let's see if we can kind of build a small kind of community, on this AWS exam. So let me know if you're going to kind of, do this together, and we'll improve as we go. We sort of said at the start was we're all going to learn together. So, nobody's starting off here, way ahead of anybody. We're going to really kind of take this and learn all of this kind of together. So what I want to do is I want to basically start at the beginning. So here, if you kind of look, the first thing what I'm going to look at is about account management. And why I'm doing that? Well, the simple reason I'm basically going to do that is because if I go back to, the Amazon learning, there's a tab here that I've kind of put down here that basically says the hands-on tutorials. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that and I'm going to put them into the hands-on tutorials. So here is going to be the URL for hands-on. Okay, so I'm going to put that URL here. And basically that URL really just kind of allows me to organize on how I want to basically study all of these services, because really from today, we're really going to get into these actual services and learn what the actual products are. So the one I kind of want to start with kind of today is actually regarding account management. And I'm going to go down in order in these, and basically that just kind of keeps me kind of, organized in the notes, because you will eventually hit all of the services that are required for the exam. So that's just how I'm planning to do it. Other people may kind of, watch the videos and do notes in kind of different ways, but I'm planning to kind of do it this way. So if I go into account management here, you can sort of see the first two that I get as part of account management, which kind of makes sense to me, right? Is getting started with the AWS management console and about service quotas. So, if you go into this guide here, so let's kind of start with this one. So this is going to be getting started with the AWS management console. This basically sort of says it's a beginner and it's 15 minutes to complete. Now, the first thing here says cost to complete. Okay, what's really important here is that we try as much as possible and stay in the free tier. And the AWS free tier is basically a tier that allows you a certain amount of um, access to resources for free. So it is exactly that, as it says, the free tier. It's really um, powerful in how much you could actually learn and study in this kind of free tier. So the first thing I wanted to actually do is open a free tier. I want to have a look at this. And this is where I basically am, So I'm actually in this console now. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, is it sort of says, okay, AWS free tier, gain hands-on experience, create a free account. Absolutely. Because when you actually look down here, here's the types of offers. You can have free trials in this. You can have 12 months free. You can have always free. You can discover all about these actual services, especially, these are probably seven of the main services that really kind of, AWS really excel in. And really, if you look down here by the free tier details, you can see how much free tier you can actually get as part of it. Is like ECT2, 750 hours, on the free tier. You know, S3 buckets, 5 gig. You know, Amazon are giving you a great, great, massive opportunity here to kind of learn um, all about the cloud using this kind of free tier. So, we're absolutely going to take um, we're absolutely going to kind of take advantage of that. So the first thing it says here is, all I basically did here was I sort of said I went in and created a free account here. It says sign up for AWS. So the first thing I want to sort of do is really, I need a root user. And root user, this basically sort of says it's going to have some administrative functions. Now, I'm going to use my own, I'm going to use my own account here. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to get my email address here, and I'm just going to copy it in here. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I save that. So basically, root user email address. So that's the root user email address that I'm going to basically use for my free tier. So it says here explore free products with a new AWS account. I haven't set up an AWS account with this Gmail, so I'm basically going to do that now. And then I want to have an AWS account name. It says choose a name for your account. You can change this name in the account settings after you sign up. Really, what I'm going to do here is honestly, I'm probably going to keep it at the same name. I don't know if I can actually, I have to do it something on it like that, or I can kind of keep the Gmail. Um, but really, I would probably prefer it kind of like that for my account name. But then it just says verify your email address. I'm going to sort of see if this works, right? So now it sort of says I have to go into my emails, which I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go into my email, and I should. So it says confirm you are you, making sure you're secure. That's what we want to do. We send an email verification code to cloudsolutionarchitects.eu@gmail.com. Enter yours below, your verification below. So I haven't got it right now, so I'm waiting for that to come true. So it says didn't get the code. Codes can take up to 5 minutes to arrive. Check your spam folder. So they were kind of two of the places I actually did. Um, I can kind of go down here. I can go down here and I can just kind of wait for this email to arrive. And I'll kind of obviously kind of speed this up in the video. Okay, so basically after probably 5 or 6 minutes, I actually did get my code, which is good. And I basically just went in and I sort of said, I want to verify my email address, and I was like, oh great, so you've been successfully verified. Now what I want to actually do is I want to add my password here. So I'm going to add my password. Okay, so it says your password provides you with sign-in access to AWS, so it's important we get it right. So the root password for the user. Okay, let's continue on that. I don't want to say right now. So sign up. How do you plan to use AWS? Is it for business? Is it personal? I'm going to sort of say personal. That doesn't make too much of a kind of difference. How should we contact you about this account? I don't know if I can actually skip that. It doesn't look like I actually can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill in a few of those details. Okay, so I had to input my home address, my credit card details. Now I basically have to authorize again with a text message. So I'm going to take my code that I just received and I'm going to put this in. And basically what here is basically where we're really kind of getting into the AWS. So it says sign up for AWS, select the support plan. I want basic, right? We want basic, there's developer support from €29 a month and there's business support from €100 a month. Now obviously, they will have different level of support and services and products that this one will have, but really we're learning here, and really we want to kind of stick on the support and the basic support for free. So let's complete our sign up. And it says, congratulations, thank you for signing up with AWS. We are activating your account. It should take a few minutes. You will receive an email when it's complete. Okay. So this is where we sort of say, okay, let's take a little kind of step back here first. And let's think about what we did here. We went to the URL for the free tier and we created an account and we input our home address and we input our credit card details all to AWS. Now, I also had to verify with a €1 transaction on my credit card. So I had to, I'm going to put this down here. I had to verify with a €1 transaction on my credit card. Okay, and why they kind of do that is just to make sure you know that your card is actually active before, and then you basically get the €1 back. But basically, it says here, congratulations, you've signed up. So what I'm going to do here is I will go to my emails, and I should see an email here which basically says welcome to AWS. You can explore. It says your AWS account is ready. Get started now. Okay, so once you basically get this email, basically says explore 100 products for free trials and always free services to start building around AWS free tier. Some offers are available to new customers for 12 months following AWS sign up. So you can sort of see we've got a successful email from AWS here that basically says, our account is ready for us to use. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on go to the AWS Management Console. And the AWS Management Console is basically where you will configure and define those services that we basically spoke about. So before I actually log in here, I just want to kind of explain something really kind of quickly on this. I created an account for cloudsolutionarchitects.eu at gmail.com as a root user. So basically what that meant was in Linux, in the Linux world, okay, this is really kind of come from a Linux type scenario, but in the Linux world, the administrator is always actually a root user. It basically means they can do everything because remember, Linux is actually kind of hierarchy based. So it's like a tree. So the top of the tree is basically the root. And from all of those kind of roots, you have administrative access on different levels. This is where this is basically coming from. So what I did here was I basically set up myself as a root user, which basically means that I'm going to be an admin on this service. Okay, so for this console, when I log into this console, I'm going to be an admin. Now, if I was to say, somebody else called James, if I was saying, James, you work with me, right? What I'm going to do, James, is I don't want you to be a root user. I don't want you to be an admin. I don't want you to, be able to delete services, increase costs for our company. What I want you to do is be an IAM user. And that's a user that would be, a user within the account that performs daily tasks. So they will have limited access. You can, learn more about each of these, the root versus IAM, but really what you want to kind of make sure is anybody else, apart from the real administrators, are going to be IAM users and you're going to be a root user. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of explain that for one kind of second. But as we go through the course, you'll sort of see I'm going to be a root user because I'm going to be the administrator of this account and I'm going to be the one that's basically learning AWS. So I will know what products and services I am activating, but I will also be responsible for making sure that I delete those products and services from my accounts so that I don't incur any costs. So this all falls back on me because I'm studying for this exam here. So this all falls back on me. But in a company scenario, just make sure that you only have a setup called least privilege. Least privilege basically means that James can only do a certain amount, where a full administrator can do everything on that account. Okay, so click into next, and I think I set up my password, and I'm hoping I set up my password correctly. And when we kind of sign in, we're basically showing this, kind of quick guide around the console. So this is your console. So you can sort of see here, you can set up AWS user notifications, quick setup. I've sort of seen all of these before, but if you don't know them, please, take the time, read through, these kind of pop-ups of what is basically kind of been popping up here. So you can sort of see, I can see, well, here's my user, right? I have an account ID. I can do certain amounts, kind of on these, right? But we'll kind of get into those in a second. I can have a menu over here and I can click into that. Okay, so I can sort of see my applications and I can sort of see all services. And if you click into all services, you see a huge amount of services here. So you see all of these services here. Okay, and you have to just make sure, because again, I'm here studying and I'm making sure that basically I am the right person that will, clean up after myself. Um, but in a matter of fact, you know, you can see the even on the actual, if because I selected it, like the actual free tier, you have so much choice and so much availability of the products and services, and this is what really the kind of exam would kind of test you on of how you use and interact between these products and services. But for now, what we'll kind of do is I'll just kind of click into here. So this is the AWS Cloud Shell. Okay, so this is actually setting me up here in North Europe, because I'm basically in North Europe. Basically, this is going to set me up here. And what I can kind of do is, if I just do a simple, really kind of simple command called date, right? For example, you can sort of see this is the actual date. This is the actual date that I basically have right now. Okay, you can sort of see you can split it into rows, split it into columns, download file, upload file, restart the shell. I can delete my home directory, but I'm not going to um, delete my actual home directory, right now. I just know that, my home, my shell is basically working, you know, my account is working, my account is active. I can see my products and services, and if you basically go back to the management guide here. So one of the first ones here I sort of said was, for the hands-on tutorials. Now I basically have my account. So if I kind of go back into that, getting started with AWS, read through this. AWS console is a web application that comprises a broad range of services. Read through all of that. Read through all of that. Prereqs. Before starting this guide, you will need to set up your environment. Okay, so that's something basically what we've actually done. And here you can sort of see, as you kind of walk through this, you can sort of see after signing up for a new AWS account and logging in, you'll see the console dashboard. Okay, so here it sort of starts to tell you, as a few of these kind of items that I kind of showed you, the areas on the console. So it's definitely kind of good idea to kind of keep this console open while you're actually going through this hands-on tutorial here. You can sort of see here's your account information. Okay, here's your service quotas, right? So quotas also refer to limits. Okay, so we're going to get into those in a few minutes. We'll have the building dashboards, and we'll have security credentials, and we'll have settings. Okay, so you can sort of see here, there's a kind of submenu with all of these types of setup. We're going to go through, at some stage all of these, but also one thing here you can also sort of see here is if you look into um, your region here, so your regions, the second highlighted menu, which is over here, I want to just go in a little bit, which is basically kind of, into here, second menu, shows the currently selected AWS region. So AWS Global Infrastructure is grouped into regions, and each service is hosted in a region, unlike it is a global service such as unless it is a global service such as AWS IM or Route 53. Okay, so Route 53 is all about networking and DNS setup. We'll get into that. But basically, you can sort of see that your console allows you to pick multiple regions of where you basically want to be set up, right? So right now I'm in North Europe, and basically that's why it's showing me as kind of Stockholm. But I can change it to any of these. One thing you'll always be making sure um, is that you're trying to pick a region that's kind of close to you, so that it's going to basically be fast. But I can sort of see all of my kind of regions now that I could actually enable if I really wanted to. I'm going to leave it at Stockholm just for demonstration purposes, because that's EU North 1 right now. But you can sort of see, I'm going to close off this guy. You can sort of see that's how the kind of regions works. Then you have your kind of service selector, which we sort of said. So, your services here, you can kind of go in here. Here you can sort of say, I want analytics, I want application, I want blockchain, I want business applications, financial. You can see all of these, containers, right? So, in the previous series, what we did was we did a really good exam on Kubernetes, and this is where that kind of, world comes in with Docker and Kubernetes. And you can sort of see networking, robotics, satellite, storage, really, really big, really big topic in AWS. I think, we haven't gone into exam questions yet, but I think a lot of questions would be kind of focused around storage and the type of storage, because it's such critically important, because one, you have to make sure that, your processes run quickly to access the storage, and two, you want to make sure that, the storage is secured so that not everybody can basically access your storage. So storage is a kind of big area in all areas of IT, and especially more than on the cloud, because you want to make sure that people can only access on the cloud what they really need to. Um, so that's your kind of service explorer. You've got a search here, so you can basically sort of search for different things here, so you can kind of go into your search box if you really kind of wanted to. But what's nice actually about the search is, you can also search for documentations and knowledge articles, tutorials, events, marketplace. You don't just, it kind of comes up with a nice menu here. You don't just have to actually, um, search for services themselves, even though the kind of, services are coming up here first. But, there's also kind of features and blogs, and you could get some more information. You've got your AWS Cloud Shell, which we started, really basic. I kind of just ran it up here, and you could sort of see here's the date, UTC time. Dashboards, the dashboard widgets. Yeah, I mean you can customize this dashboard as you really want to make sure that you can actually sort of see the widgets, um, you know, of what you're going to need, and all that kind of sort of stuff. Um, it's just close off this guy. Close out this as well. So your actual dashboard here is clean enough, but you can actually customize it to how you actually kind of want as well. And then sort of says, congratulations, you've finished um, getting started with the management console, right? So the next thing to kind of really kind of do is now that you actually have your console, you have your account, you've validated your credit card, you've validated your home address, you've done all of these kind of setups, you have your dashboards. I'm now ready to actually start exploring these services and finding out an awful lot more about um, these services. But really, what I'm trying to do here is just make sure that this is number one of the first um, area that I kind of want to look into, and it's account management, and it's getting started with the AWS management console. So I really kind of hope that you like this, and I'll talk to you in the next one.